Hello, how are you? My name is Santisteban Octavio and I'm pleased to welcome you to our first webinar of this year from Ontologic Academy. As you can see, we decided to start this training really early thanks to the response we got from our last trainings we did last year, where we cover different KPIs, ratio and procedures for the vehicles industry. One new thing that we would like to comment to you is that we have added one specific training each month for Autologica customers. On those sessions, those trainings, we will show you features that you already have on the DMS. Maybe you are not aware of them, but the purpose of those trainings is to show you things that you already have and maybe you're not using. For example, last time in November we did one which was a global receipt. A global receipt is something that lets you collect from the same customer from different account types. So you can create one receipt and collect invoices from parts, from service, or from vehicles, everything on one transaction. Also, I would like to tell you that all these trainings will be added to Autologica e-learning platform. If you're not aware of what is Autologica e-learning platform, it's a place where it's 100% free for Autologica customers. It's a place where you will find different courses for each module, for parts, for vehicles, for service, where you can give access to your new employees so they can have a training there, or also maybe the employees you already have can perform these courses because they will learn something new, of course. And in addition to that, every module has their own exam, and then as soon as you get the certificate, if you approve the exam, you can link that certificate with LinkedIn. Now, starting with today's presentation that is called a data-driven routine for managers, we will show you what we presented in Autotienda here in November 2024. And the purpose of this is that at the end of this session, this training, you will have the same picture of us, like we have, for example, that data is one of the most valuable assets that the dealership has. As always, maybe it's the first time that you are connecting to this presentation. I will give you a little review from Autologica. Autologica, it's a DMS, Dealer Management System. We have different modules for parts, for vehicles, for services. The accounting is integrated with the DMS. We are working currently in more than 20 countries with more than 70 brands. And we have been working for more than 30 years on this industry. So as I told you before, we have different modules, parts, vehicle, services. What we are going to be working today is one of the latest features we have released. Today we can say that the software Autologica DMS fully covers what are the traditional operation of the dealership. I mean, invoicing, collecting, management, stock management for parts, for vehicles, the accounting, everything working or trying to be as more efficient as we can be for all those procedures. To enhance that the things we already do, we have created Analytics. Analytics is a tool that will get all the information that you place in Autologica while generating invoices or while generating the accounting, and will give you different dashboards with different KPIs that will let you know what are the things that are going on in your dealership and what are the actions that you need to do based on those KPIs. One thing that I forgot to say is that at the end of this presentation I will answer your questions, so if you want, you can use the Q&A section, write there your questions, and at the end of the presentation I will read them out loud and explain and answer all of them. As I was saying, today's presentation is based on the concept of data-driven routine. Um, but what we mean by this is that, for example, that you shouldn't take decisions based on instinct, or based on feelings, or based on, okay, we're gonna do this because we have been doing this for the last 10 years. The idea of this presentation is that the data routine will help you to if you make any decision, this should be with any data before that will be give you trust for the decision that you're gonna be taking. Okay. And this is what we are trying to make the focus today, that how important is data while when you are going to make a decision. Continuing with what I said before, why we are talking about this data-driven routine, because intuition should not be the base for decisions. Okay, you should be based on data to make your decisions. Data needs to be seen in a context. You will see during this presentation that, for example, you can see sales. Okay, sales are going well, but maybe if you see other KPIs related to sales, maybe you need to improve something. You should always have a context to analyze everything together, not only the sales itself. Then also you should have you need to have goals to reach. Okay, I will give you a short story of Simon Sinek, who said, for example, he was saying this example. Let's imagine a family, and that family says, the father says, okay, we're gonna be on vacation next Monday. And when Monday arrives, one member of the family was ready to go to the beach, another was ready to go to ski on the mountain with snow, another one was ready to go to a safari in South Africa. So by goals and things like that, we mean that where you are planning to go should be very easy to understand to everybody, and making goals that will help you to track that ending point that you want to reach. Also, of course, the quality of the data should be, it's one of the most important things for this, because as I said before, if you are getting information for your reports from different Excel files, Word files, everything will mix, or you might have any error, somebody might change something of the data. In this case, working with Autologica DMS and analytics, the quality of the data is 100% assured, because we are the ones who are generating the data. Now I'm going to give you a few different scenarios to see how this data-driven routine works. Okay, like any routine, it should start every morning when the owner of the dealership or any manager open his smartphone or his computer, and you should be able to see the data there, which should be your breakfast. Okay, before you start making the decisions, you will see the information there, and then you can start with your daily process. What we are seeing right now, it's a summary dashboard to understand the dealership health, where we just don't see indicators of how many invoices we are creating or how many vehicles we are selling. We also have some economic indicators like the profit and loss results, return over sales, expenses versus sales, and also other financial KPIs like solvency or liquidity, that will help you to understand fully the context of the health of the company. Also, we can see the obsolete level of the parts for the full dealership. Going back to the thing we said, that everything should have a context. For example, in this scenario, the dealership met its billing target significantly, a lot of more. But when we contextualize that, we can see that, for example, the return over sale should be 16%, but we only got 4% on that. That is why we should see everything on a context. Even the sales sales versus expenses indicator was higher than the level it was supposed to be. Maybe this is because even though we reach the level of invoicing we wanted on the upper left corner sales, we expense a lot of money on trying to visit the customers, events when we invited the customer, a lot of marketing. So all those expenses, even though we reach the amount of sales we wanted to have, they impact on the return over sales KPI. Okay. And also, besides this comparison that you can have between the different KPIs, also you can have the comparison of each KPI with the previous month and the same year previous month. Okay, the same year of the previous month. This is because maybe you want to see what happened the same month previous year. And at the bottom also you will have information regarding the absorption rate, and on the right side, as we said, solvency and liquidity, that will let you know if you have money to pay. For example, if you are selling parts or vehicles and you will collect those sales in 60 days, but you are supposed to pay to your supplier in 30 days, you're going to be having a problem because you will not have enough money. So you will have to go and collect the money from a bank, and then you will have to pay interest for that loan. Okay, so that is why you should have and you should see, and that's the idea of us, that you should see the health of the company on this panel: invoicing, economics KPI, and also financial KPIs. Now the second scenario we're going to be talking about is the obsolete parts. Obsolete parts are like a flat on a tire that maybe you will not notice that you have flat on a tire until the tire stops working. So the purpose of this is that you will have a dashboard where you can see the volume of the obsolete parts, so you can track them and analyze them before they become a huge problem. Okay. You know that maybe these obsolete parts, they can be generated from different aspects or tasks. For example, if you purchase your parts based on the intuition, that is something that you should avoid. If you don't work with purchase order suggestions, if you don't work with that, maybe you're gonna be buying things that you don't need. Also, maybe if you don't work with customer booking or ordering of the customers, maybe you will buy some parts from one customer, but if you don't have exactly which one was the customer that was waiting for that part will kept on your inventory for a long time. So what you will, another thing could be, for example, that you have a lot of you have parts where the rotation for that part is high, but maybe you have more parts that you need. So that is why there are several things that you can work with in order to avoid having obsolete parts. Of course, in Autologica DMS, you can have the different categories for those parts based on how many months since the last time you sold any of those parts. For example, you can say, okay, for more than 12 months, those are the parts that I will consider obsolete, or maybe more than 24 months. That is something that you can set up on Autologica DMS. And as we said before, in order to avoid that, because you know that the obsolete part is money that you're not using, you can work with suggestions order. Even though there are some OEMs that have their own order suggestions formula, you can use the ones we have in Autologica. We have at least 5 different formula for order suggestions. Also, on Autologica DMS, you will have the history of those sales, so you can compare and see the tendency for selling for those parts. And also we have what we call the ABC reports. ABC reports are based on Pareto's law. You know that when you analyze 20% of something and you are working with 80% of that, for example, you can have ABC reports for sales. So from a report where you have 100 pages, you can analyze the first 20 pages. You're going to be talking about the 80% of the sales you have. This analysis can also be done with the inventory. You can analyze from a parts report with 200 pages. You can analyze the first 40 pages, and you're going to be talking about 80% of the amount that you have in your inventory. So you don't need to analyze full report. You can make focus on some specific uh, amount of pages of the report, and you're going to be covering a lot of the things that you want to cover. Those are the ABC reports we currently have on Autologica DMS. This panel is really important because you must always know how, if there is any cost hidden along the dealership, okay, on every corner. So what we are talking about is a lot of money on this example, on what we are looking right now, that is there and it's not generating everything. You know that even though of course you have the money that is kept there on the obsolete parts, you have other hidden costs, like for example every year you have to do the inventory for those parts that are obsolete. You have to use some space on the shelter for those parts that you are not selling, and instead of those parts you should be having parts with more rotation. If you have a security guy, you have a security guy that are taking care of those parts along the workshop. Those parts are obsolete, so there are a lot of hidden costs that are related to these obsolete parts, and that is why we consider these base is really important for you. So you have to take care and you have to control those inventory parts, those obsolete parts. Going back to the Simon Sinek history about the family going on vacation, another scenario which is really important is the vision of the company for the next year, for this data-driven routine. The company should create a budget for the following year, so it's really important that should be very clear for everybody, so you can attach to that budget for the following year. Budgeting is always a controversial topic while we perform this kind of courses, because somebody most of the time says we don't have time to do that, or there are many variables that we have to work with. What we always say is that if you have more things that you have to analyze for the budget, that is the reason why you have to perform a budget, because the purpose of that is that you can start discussing things before they happen. So if you have start budgeting different scenario, okay, we will have inflation getting bigger by the end of the year, or maybe we won't be able to buy this part from overseas, or maybe we will have to hire 5 new employees for this stuff. If you start discussing all those things, once they happen, you will know exactly what you have to do, because you already discussed about them. That is why, or one of the main things, that you have to budget and you have to start thinking about what is going on, or what would you like to be having for the following year. We understand that this is to a part of the data-driven routine, and it's essential always to compare this, to compare what you want to have budget, what you currently have, the real thing you're having right now. So as you can see, you will have reports that you can check, okay, how much you expense, how much you estimated for the expenses versus what you really spent on expenses, how much you budgeted for the sales versus actual sales, and of course all of that will give you the profit or loss results that you wanted to have versus what you are really winning, earning or not from the accounting point of view. That is why you have this kind of budget report that will help you know what you wanted to have versus what you are currently having during this year, and all of this making focus also on the things that what really happened last year. You can see that at the bottom, because for example you can see, okay, we have we want to have this amount of sales, but we didn't reach that amount of sales. But if we look at the bottom and the sales for this period are higher than the previous year, maybe we were too ambitious when we define the goals for the sales. That is why you have these thing covers and this context to analyze everything, which is budget versus the real things, current things, actual things. And also at the bottom you will have, okay, what happened this period versus what happened the same period last year. I will comment this phrase from Lord Kelvin, who said, "What is not defined cannot be measured. What is not measured cannot be improved. And what is not improved always degrades." So this is what when you face this is when you have a dealership with different brands, with different branches, with different business units. It's different. It's crucial to see the big picture of everything on one place. That is why I'm going to talk about you this different scenario, which now is leaderboards. Leaderboards is the place that one manufacturer or an economic group, one same dealers with different dealerships, can see everything on the same page, on the same picture. As we did before, um, we created these leaderboards for these economic groups where they have different dealers, or for these for the manufacturers where they need to analyze different dealerships on the same page, on the same picture. That is why we created leaderboard. As you can see, you will have different rankings for the branches, for the dealerships, based on different KPIs. Based on this, you can see, okay, which one are the best dealerships regarding sales, or the best stores, best branches regarding sales, and you can compare that. Okay, I have this dealership which is the first one on sales, but he's the third regarding return over sales, or he's also the first one on sales over expenses. So this should give you the full picture, first of all, of each dealership, for each dealership individualized. Okay, and also you can compare that dealership with others. Okay, this is will part of the context, sales, and also you can compare sales with other KPIs. Okay, this is what we have said before at the beginning, that everything should have a context. And also what you can get from these rankings on this leaderboard are also good practices. For example, you can analyze, okay, which one are the best dealerships that I have for the KPI expenses over sales. Okay, you can analyze that dealership and see which are the things that they are doing in order to reach that KPI, because there are something you can teach to other dealerships, other stores. For example, for them are mandatory to work with a purchase order. If you don't have a purchase order, you cannot buy anything. And then besides that, you have also a procedure that somebody should authorize that purchase. All those things can be done with Autologica. But what I mean is that having this everything together on the same picture, besides the comparison and the ranking, you can also identify good practices for each one of them. Okay, as a conclusion with this snapshot, we have addressed the concept of data-driven routine. This should be a habit, okay, where you can have reliable information for the managers, for the owners, and should be the starting point for making a decision. Now I will leave a few minutes so you can start typing your questions. Remember the QA section, and I will read them out loud and answer them. Okay, I have a question here from John. John, he says that he joined a little bit later, and he's asking if this analytics is part of the is a separated product from the DMS. No, analytics it's part of a DMS. As we said before, on the DMS you create your invoices, you receive your payment orders, everything, and that information is part of the analytics, integrated analytics that I showed you before. It's the same thing, even though you have a cost for deployed, it's part of the same DMS. Okay, I have another one from Daniela. She's asking what she can do in order to reduce that stock. As I said before, you have several options to work with that. As I said before, for example, I already mentioned order suggestion. Regarding purchasing order, we have a feature in Autologica that, for example, every time that you are going to place a purchase order for parts, you will have an alert if you are trying to buy this part and that part is already on another store, another branch, and it's obsolete, Autologica will give you an alert and tell you, okay, instead of buying this part, why don't you bring that part from the other branch instead of buying it. Also, another thing, as we said before, even though I already said that you can work with parts booking for the customer in order to avoid, okay, if this part was for Octavio, as soon as I receive the part, I will call Octavio and give the part. Besides that, you can also, we have a module that we call quick alerts. For example, on that module, you can set an alert that says, every time that you load a packing list, and in that packing list I'm receiving parts that are pending to a customer, that alert will send an email to somebody, and that somebody will get that email and see, okay, these parts are have just arrived to the dealership, and this is the customer that I have to call. Okay, but there are several things that you can do. Daniela, if you want, give us your email and we will let you know other features that you can work with. Okay. Okay, Philip, I'm sorry, he also wants to see leaderboards again. Okay, regarding leaderboards, is what I said before. This is the focus made for leaderboards. It's when you have several dealerships or you have different branches. You can be an economic group or you can be a manufacturer, but the purpose is, as I said before, you can have rankings. You can see which one are the best dealerships regarding sales, and you can also compare that information with other KPIs, because as we said before, maybe the dealership that you have on number one on sales is not the first one on return over sales, because something happened in between, as we said, for expenses. Okay. Let me see something else. Okay. Somebody is asking, Nicolas, yes, you can use this analytics from a mobile. Can be done. You can also see your data in local and foreign currency. I said that before. Remember that you can see these KPIs in local and foreign currency. Okay. Okay. So in order not to delay this presentation, what you can do is, as soon as you type your question, give us your email, and don't worry, we will write you the answer through email and get back to you. Okay. So first, thanks again for joining this presentation, and hope to see you on the next one. Thank you very much.